Hello, 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 and welcome back to what's next, friend? Okay, so next assignment is Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. Kind of like Vandenberg, I was at Langley twice. I think I'm gonna read Jasmine's card for Langley. She says, honestly, I didn't think the 757 would end up feeling so much like home. I just remember feeling active like first time around at Langley. The infamous Nor'easter, yes, oh my gosh, the infamous Nor'easter that had us walking through the storm just to go to 7-Eleven like it was completely normal. Going to visit you at Mr. Newberry's office, trying to learn how to park in the parking lot with that insane number of keys, and that tragic night on the way to cheer practice. When you randomly ask, "Hey lady, is there a deer in my car?" Mark and I were crying and laughing so loud, and you just took it in stride. You showed me not to take things too seriously. Even then, I think I was starting to see it, how steady you are, how you don't panic, how you just handle things. That's cute. Langley. So Langley was awesome in that I was able to choose that assignment, choose to go to Virginia in the Virginia Beach area, which is great, because I thought because the schools were really good there. Jasmine continued her competitive cheer and gymnastics. She at this point she cheered for Virginia Beach team. I don't remember them. Fame All Stars, which now we know that the owners are Trumpers. I I did not know that. I did not exhibit those tendencies at the time. But she was a competitive cheerleader. She started going to private Christian schools because I had already given her my GI Bill, so I knew that her college would be paid for, and so I wanted to kind of set her up. So we invested in getting her into private school. That's where she started private school. So she went to middle school was public. She was at Sims Middle School. Then she went to Hampton Christian. I had to deploy. She went to a different Christian school with my mom, and then she came back, and then she went to Catholic school there in Virginia Beach. But anyway, not in Virginia Beach, in Newport News. But Langley it was great. I had so much fun. I was working, so I started working for the Global Cyberspace Integration Center, and I was like just a security person, not a big deal job. No big deal. I was like an AO, which is an action officer, which is fine. But then the opportunity well, let me just go back and share a story. So when I first got to Langley, I worked at the Global Cyberspace Integration Center, and there was this particular building that we worked in, and we had it was contractors and active duty and civilians and everything, right? And so somebody was giving me a tour of the building. We go, and there's like 4 stories, and like the first floor was like considered the basement, and that's where all like the IT guys, and they were mostly contractors, IT guys were. My office was on the 2nd floor, and then the 3rd floor was like the executive suites, and then the 4th floor is kind of where a lot of the civilians worked. But anyway, so was it 3 floors? Maybe it was only 3. Long story short, they gave me a tour of the building. We go down to the basement, which is called the belly. My friend called it the belly of the beast. And we're walking around, and they're giving me this tour. And I go by this contractor's office, and he has this rude, terrible, offensive poster of then President Barack Obama on his desk. Now, he was nowhere to be seen, but the person that's giving me the tour, I stopped them mid-tour and said, "What is this? And how is this possible? This, A, is a government facility. B, this is a sitting U.S. president. This man is the commander in chief. And then 3, why are you walking past this as if this is business usual, as if this isn't something that needs to be addressed? I'll never forget that, because when I tell you when I tell you I went to the contracting officer who ran the contractors, who led the contractors, I went to my supervisor, and I went to the facility manager and said, this will not stand. I made a name for myself, and I did not care, because you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding, on a military installation, in a government facility, a sitting president? Are you serious? Anyway, so that was, I first got to Langley. So anyway, after being there for like 6 months or so, the job for the executive officer for the civilian, the general officer equivalent, commander or director of the Global Cyberspace Integration Center, he was looking for a new exec. He was looking for somebody to like handle his calendars, his meetings, and that's what an executive officer is. If you're affiliated with the military, you know what an exec is. So the job opening came open, and they asked me if I wanted to apply for it. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, everybody's like, oh, you don't want to be an exec. It's terrible. The hours are terrible and blah, blah, blah. And you work so hard and you do all these things and blah, 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 blah. You don't want to be the exec. You don't want to be the exec. You don't want to be the exec. But for me, I wanted to get out of that damn building, because like I said, I had made a name for myself. Not that anybody was being overtly like out to get me or anything, but it was just heavy, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be over here. And if I can work for the boss, all the better, because if I ever have to come back over to this building, I will be with the boss and attitudes will be different. And so I interviewed for the job, and the person who had the job, she was brilliant. Oh my God, I wish I could remember her name. Beautiful Black woman. She was a major. I was a captain going for my major's board. And she was like, I want you for this job. I think that this job will be good for you. And I think that you are exactly what we need in this position. I was like, okay. She goes, because yes, you're a captain, but you're mature. Again, I had been enlisted before, understood a little bit about the things, and so she really, really recommended me for the job, and I wound up getting it. So that was my first stint working for a general officer, being like up in the front office, kind of being in those rooms, being exposed to, high-ranking people, more so than I ever had before. Because yes, I was enlisted before, but I think the only interactions I had with like officers were like commanders and stuff. Or I guess when I was working in range, we had some like lieutenants and captains in there, but it wasn't in any capacity that was anything remotely like being the exec, being the person that they counted on. And so that was a big deal for me in terms of professionally. I made so all of the ranks kind of like on the E side, from E1 to E4, it's kind of like time and grade will earn you the grade as long as you don't get in trouble. And so that was where I was, right? I'd made it from first lieutenant to captain, or excuse me, second lieutenant to captain. And I had to compete to get major. And this was the base where I got my first definite promote to major as I was sitting in that exec seat. Since now major is a given rank, you don't have to compete for major. I think the first time you have to compete for rank now as an officer is lieutenant colonel, which it wasn't like that for me. But anyway, so that's that. What else at Langley? I taught Jasmine how to drive at Langley. What else? Oh, second deployment. Yeah. I went to, not second deployment. First time I went to my first remote assignment. That's where I got assigned to Korea. Oh my gosh. That's where actually, no. No, Osan is a whole nother assignment. Jeez, I'm losing my mind. Okay. probably doing all of these in one day is not a good idea. Anyway, yeah, so I was there for 2.5 years before I had to go. 2 years, 3. So I got there in, I think, 2009. And then I was there for 3 years, and then I had to go to Osan for a remote assignment. Friends I made there. Mark is one of my closest friends. He was my next door neighbor. Still friends with him today. I had a really close friend with Patricia Burt. See, I keep saying last names. I need to stop doing that. Trish was a great friend of mine. Miss Mayo Hines was a great friend of mine. And Mr. Newberry was amazing. I just saw Mr. Newberry like 2 years ago at an AFA, and he still remembered me, and I still thank him because I 100% know that him choosing me for that position and me being his exec completely changed the trajectory of my career. I 100% believe that. And what's interesting about military service, and me and my girlfriends kind of chat about it all the time, especially being a minority, and being in a white male-dominated career. I mean, it's just the numbers. It's just what it is. Sometimes the most beneficial person to have on your team, or what we have found, and a lot of us have found, a good, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. You know what? I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna keep it buck with you guys. I'm gonna stop right there. Anyway, because I'm going over my 10-minute mark already, so it's 12 minutes. So that is Langley. Up next will be Osan.